Hi everybody, welcome back to Lockdown Lessons, part 52. With me today, I've got Ian Rudder from B2B Communications. So firstly, a big hello to you, Ian.
Hello, Phil. How are you?
Very well, thank you very much. Very well. Thank you for joining me. So the first question I always lead with on these interviews is for people that are actually watching this that don't know you and don't know anything about B2B, perhaps you could just explain to them exactly who you are, what you do and how you help people.
Sure. My name is Ian Rudder. I'm the Managing Director of B2B Communications. We've been a business going for around about 8 years now. We provide business-to-business telecommunications to businesses pretty much nationally, but focus around the M25 region.
Fantastic. So these interviews are called Lockdown Lessons for a reason. So we want to find out more about your experiences over the last sort of like 19, 20 months. So if you can sort of cast your mind back to sort of February, March last year, when the world was beginning to look a bit strange, at what point did you think there might be a problem commercially, Ian?
I think from a commercial perspective, I think as a business, we, as I said, probably 80% of our business is based around central London. So the moment when lockdown was formally announced, and I think the second or third week of March, people then had to stay at home. Then we realised that we are going to have a problem with our revenues at that point.
Okay, fantastic. So sort of what was the first thing that happened that caused stress to your business at that time?
Well, I think there's two directors and two shareholders in the business, and I think the other shareholder and director went into a little bit of a meltdown, went into a bit of a panic. So the first point of call, the first action element was to sort of appease and calm him down. So that, you know, before it was an outward problem, if you like, or outward, it was trying to manage the inward side, and obviously the effect that would have on the staff as well. So I think that was the lesson there. It was really what do we do? How do we address this, rather than how it's affecting our customers or anyone outside the business. It was, you know, what are we doing internally.
Fantastic. So how did you sort of adapt to the problems that you were faced with then, Ian?
I think, I guess like a number of, it was a day by day, a week by week process. I think what we, from a financial perspective, we cut down a number of non-essential costs, some non-essential services that we felt we didn't need during that, certainly for the first stage of the lockdown. So we really got hold of our figures. Although we thought we had a good grasp of our figures, we really took a real deep dive into our figures. What was essential, what was required, what did we need? And I think, you know, out of everything that's come out of this process, that is one of the things that we now have a better handle on than we ever had leading up into the pandemic.
That's really good. And I think sometimes, a lot of good things have come out of the pandemic. Obviously, a lot of bad things as well, but a lot of good things as well, especially in terms of business, because people have had to refocus. Some people have had to change the way they operate totally. Some people have had to change certain products or services around because no one wanted them during the pandemic. And it's great that I think, there are a lot of people that have learned a lot during the pandemic about their business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So let's focus on the wins. What sort of I'm sure sort of back in March last year, probably there weren't many wins on the table for any business in the country, but since then, what's actually happened to your business then, Ian?
Sure. So I think, as I said, we probably lost 25% of our revenue due to people not being in offices making phone calls. So, which, you know, is quite a significant, you know, chunk of revenue to lose. What we gained is we gained a number of our existing client base required more bandwidth. They required more data, because obviously the fact that so many people had gone home meant that a lot of people were VPNing and remoting into servers that were in an office or in a data center. So where we lost our voice, those voice calls, we gained data connectivity or improved bandwidth or higher grade of bandwidth. So we replaced that lost revenue of voice calls with predominantly, increased network services, and some of the remote, not massively on the remote, but because a lot of our businesses were kind of already set up to do remote or hybrid working or home working. So they were already, they weren't probably using it as greatly as they are now, or certainly at that point, but they were already geared up for it. So I think our big wins, if you like, was really that beefing up of the network and improving the bandwidth and access into their networks.
Fantastic. And although a 25% drop in revenue is serious for most businesses, I expect there are other businesses in your line of business that maybe suffered more than a 25% drop, right?
Yeah, I think the ones that maybe their product split was more voice and data, I would imagine that they, would have had a bigger hit. Ones that had a BT WLR base that were focused around that would have had a bigger hit. Ones that had small phone system maintenance, where they had a phone system with traditional voice service, which didn't have any remote setup, I think they would have probably took a hit. And I guess on the reverse, the flip side of that is that there were some technology companies out there, the likes of Zoom, which we're on now, Microsoft Teams, that would have had, that had serious growth, during, in that period. So we do provide a couple of those services, but they're not our core or key services, and we didn't get a huge benefit from those services.
Okay, fantastic. So what changes have you made within the business during lockdown that you're actually going to carry on doing?
Yeah, I think that certainly, as a business, we were already set up for remote working. So we already had staff that were either based at home. Actually, we've got one staff based in another country. So as a business, we were already set up to do remote, flexible working. We actually moved offices during the pandemic, and we benefited from the lack of businesses were requiring office space, so we were able to rationalise our office. So that was probably a good thing. The management of numbers, we've got stricter controls, financial controls in place there. We review them on a more regular basis. I think we're a lot more in touch with the well-being of our staff. I think that's probably been one of the things, and we've implemented some private healthcare that encapsulates or captures the well-being and the mental side of being a human being. So we've incorporated that as we realise how important that is, from everybody, from the top to bottom and bottom to top.
Fantastic. That's good to know. So is there anything that you did during lockdown that you maybe wish you'd done a bit sooner? Obviously, we touched upon the getting in better control of the figures. Was there anything else at all, Ian?
I don't know. I wouldn't. There's nothing that springs immediately to mind. I think, as I say, the well-being and welfare of the staff. We certainly had a good. We probably could have done that slightly better. But as I say, going forward, we certainly are fully focused on that side and of in terms of that, whether that be existing staff or new staff if they come on board and things like that. So yeah, outside of that, I can't think of anything too much. I think focusing on your customer base. I think as a small business, you're always trying to grow, and your focus tends to be split 50-50, 50% on your existing customers and 50% on growing. And I think that's probably an area that we probably that we realised how key your existing customers are and how important they are. So that additional focus, even more than normal, on your customer base, obviously is critical.
That's a really good point, actually. I think that people tend to focus heavily too much on lead generation. In my point of view, there are numerous ways you can grow your margins, and you don't have to do it just through lead generation. So yeah, absolutely. And if it's a really tough marketplace, attracting new business is going to be really hard, whereas actually working with your existing client base and helping them is probably going to be a bit easier, right? So I think you absolutely did the right thing there, Ian. Just on a personal note, can you remember sort of back in the dark days, April, May last year, where we weren't allowed to go out, we weren't allowed to breathe, we weren't allowed to do anything? What was the sort of first thing you did when you were allowed out into the open, then, Ian, personally?
I think personally, I think was to go, as obviously like many people, go and visit friends that you were unable to visit during that period. I think, for me personally, my friends' network is a very important network, and it made you realise how important during that time. And yeah, the first thing was to obviously visit as many as friends that I wasn't able to see, and family to a lesser degree, but during that, as afterwards, social, that socialising with your friends and family was massive. Was massive. Also, I play sports, so getting back into sports was a big thing, and going back to the gym was another. So I would say in that order.
Fantastic. What sports do you play?
So I play football. I play vets football. So I play that on a Saturday afternoon, and train on a Wednesday, and then 2 or 3 gym sessions during the week.
And once that's all taken away from you, you never, back a year before that, you would never have even thought that you'd have had to have stopped for that reason, would you? You might have had to stop for injury, maybe, but not because you're stopped from doing it.
Yeah, no, I think it's unbelievable. I mean, I think any of us could ever have envisaged that, we wouldn't be able to go to work, we wouldn't be able to go and socialise, we wouldn't be able to go, and play sports. I don't think any of us could have ever, imagined. And let's hope that we never get caught. We never get caught again like having to do that. But
absolutely,
cross that.
Absolutely. So just for the people that are watching, just to wrap up, I always sort of ask people at the end of these interviews, who's your ideal customer? And so if someone's watching this right now and thinks that you might be able to help them, what type of customer do you is your sort of sweet spot, so to speak?
I think it's a great question. I think it's probably two-tiered. I think there's customers that are looking to move premises, downsize, upside, move into new buildings, start a new business. I think those are very, very good customers that would probably get a little benefit from talking to a business like ours, because we can cover a whole suite of services across voice and data. So anything that touches that, or it's got IP involved, then we can certainly help advise. The fact that we use best of breed solutions, we are vendor agnostic, so we don't try and shoehorn one product or service into. We actually listen to what our customers and prospective customers would like, and then obviously try and make a fix around that. And then the other side is probably people size. I think organisations that don't have a big IT team or infrastructure team to look after them, I guess a business between 30 and 150 will probably benefit from talking to us, from a consultancy piece right through to implementation of services.
Lovely, that's well explained. Thank you so much, Ian. So if the last question I've got to ask you is, if anyone needs to get in contact with you or your business or Virtue, how can they best reach you?
So we've got a website which is very simple, www.virtue.com, and that's Virtue with a 2 rather than a T. We've got obviously various emails, info@virtue.com. is a good one. And then, you know, to be honest, I'm more than happy to take phone calls direct. My mobile is 07800 121 758.
Lovely, fantastic. And if people want to, I usually post these out on LinkedIn and YouTube. So if I add in the comments below your details, then people can reach you via those methods, or also just by direct messaging you on LinkedIn, if that works for you, Ian.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active in, you know, in replying back to requests and friends requests and things like that. So yeah, more than happy to assist in any way.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much, Ian. It's been a pleasure as always, and yeah, catch up soon.
No worries. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.